Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Surprise! I'm not Tucker. I'm Ed Henry, in from out of the bullpen. We're broadcasting live from Nats Park, the site of tonight's annual congressional baseball game. The game is going on despite yesterday's attack on GOP lawmakers. The staff of Steve Scalise, the wounded Republican leader, said they believe he wanted them to go forward. We'll be showing you Tucker's exclusive interview with Fred Warmbier, the father of Otto Warmbier, who was obviously detained in North Korea. He's just released in Cincinnati now. Listen to this sound.
We're taking it a moment at a time, a day at a time, and we're going to support each other like we agreed to do all this, and we're adjusting right now. We're adjusting to a different reality.
We'll bring you the rest of Tucker's interview a little later. But first, the game is on, and it's very interesting because despite yesterday's assassination attempt, and that's what it was, on several members of the Republican team, House Majority Whip Steve Scalise remains hospitalized, alive, in critical condition after undergoing his third surgery today. His absence from tonight's game, a sad irony. Scalise was known as one of the speediest players on the GOP squad and his secret weapon as a pinch runner. He scored 4 runs in 7 games over the years. Now for more on tonight's game, Fox's Peter Ducey is down here behind me. And Peter, you and I have been talking and texting one another. We were both very moved by that first pitch. Joe Torre, formerly of the New York Yankees, now representing Major League Baseball, came out with a very special guest.
He did, and that very special guest, Ed, was somebody that no one here in Washington had seen or heard from since yesterday's ambush in Alexandria at the baseball practice, and that was the Capitol Police officer, David Bailey, who was a surprise guest that they brought out and on crutches, and he walked right out to the mound with a baseball in his hand and dropped one crutch and threw a first pitch that made it to home plate. It was a moment that probably just about anybody in here had chills watching. I know that I did. And something else that was very important to see with him out there, he had a big smile on his face. And there was a sustained applause for him. There's obviously a great desire by many of the congressional staffers and other DC types that are here to thank the Capitol Police. The first thing that the PA announcer did was ask for a round of applause for the Capitol Police, and then about 20 minutes later, Bailey was out there throwing the ball less than 2 days after he suffered a wound in a gunshot while he was stopping what could have been a horrible, even worse tragedy, again, just across the river at the Potomac. So that would have been probably, so far, the moment of the night, but again, we are just one inning down. Ed.
Peter, you're so right. At a time in this country when law enforcement is oftentimes vilified, to see the officer come out there with Joe Torre, this baseball hero, and see them lock arms and see that pitch and the recovery from this Capitol Police officer. He's still got a long way to go, obviously. But there was another moment. One of our viewers tweeted me that he was moved to tears by this prayer, Democrats and Republicans coming together, Peter.
Right, and there was no big announcement by the public address announcer, just members of the Republican team and the Democratic team a few minutes before they were set to start, all gathered and took a knee for a prayer at second base, which would have been where the Majority Whip Steve Scalise would have been playing tonight. Scalise is still 5 miles away in critical condition at the MedStar Hospital, receiving treatment for, again, his very serious wound to the right hip, and then everything internally that has been affecting him since. The last thing that the Republican team did, though, before they took the field, they were all introduced, and then Steve Scalise was introduced. They put a big picture of him up on the Jumbotron, and everybody from the Republican team that was lined up across the diamond, third base to first base, turned around and they waved at him. And again, that's another bipartisan moment here. They have here the members of the left-leaning party, the Democrats, sitting on left field, and the right-leaning party, the Republicans, are all along the right field line, and everybody stood and cheered. It was the second longest standing ovation tonight. I believe that our producer from Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, counted it at 42 seconds. But that was a moment that obviously unified everybody that was here. And you want to talk about, people have wondered if what happened yesterday is something that's going to get people to maybe set aside some of the really nasty political rhetoric, something interesting, maybe it's meaningful, maybe it's not. People are really into this game. I've been to these games before the last few years where people just kind of aren't really paying attention. Every single thing that has happened tonight, people are on the edge of their seat, a lot of cheering, a lot of applause, and everybody just seems like they are right on top of what's happening. And it's a close one. It's 3-2. The Democrats are up a run in the second.
All right. It was close. The Republicans are up 2-0. Now the Democrats are up 3-2. I spoke to the Republican House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy before. I asked him who's going to win. He said, America. Maybe that spirit of unity will live on for some time at least. Thanks, Peter Ducey. Yesterday's shooting was committed by a fervent progressive, but the media are trying to label Republicans somehow as the violent ones. Today, the New York Times said there was a, quote, clear link between Sarah Palin's political incitement and the 2011 shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, a Democrat. One problem: that alleged link between Palin and the attack on Giffords was debunked years ago. The claim is basically fake news, literally fake news. Charles Krauthammer is a writer and columnist. He joins us live now. Charles, what do you make of the New York Times putting out this editorial that, quite frankly, is embarrassing for them years later to still be pushing this false narrative just 24 hours after a former Bernie Sanders supporter tried to assassinate Republican members of Congress?
It's completely egregious. And it's not just that it's been debunked 6 years later. It was debunked within 3 days. I remember writing a column 4 days after the attack in which it was absolutely, totally obvious that the shooter was a paranoid schizophrenic. He had no idea what was going on. There were no ideas in his head. One of his teachers had said that he was living in his own world. And at the time, this is what's most egregious, people don't even remember. The day after the shooting, the Times ran in its news section, on the front page, something it labeled the news analysis that introduced this false idea that Jared Loughner, the shooter, was motivated by this thing on the website that showed the bullseyes for 20 districts. Jared Loughner was not driven to the crime by a climate of hate, because as everybody who knew him and who testified at the SOD at the time was saying, this man created his own climate. He was a classic paranoid schizophrenic, and that the Times should drag this out 6 years later was amazing. And even the correction was mealy-mouthed and half-hearted. No connection was proved. No connection was possible. The man was a paranoid psychotic.
And Charles, it goes deeper than that, because then the House Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi, comes out today when we just heard Peter Ducey reporting on how lawmakers in both parties say, you know what, maybe folks are going to come together. Maybe people are unified. And Nancy Pelosi has a news conference where she attacks Fox News, number one, but number two, she says Republicans have been more responsible than Democrats for this violent rhetoric. Why within 24 hours is she trying to keep score?
Look, this is a reflex. I see it among Democrats. It is true to some extent among Republicans. This sort of the vitriol in our politics is not unilateral. And I think it's when you get the leadership within 1 day of an event like this, and let's remember, she's a Democrat, and the shooter came out and said, are those Republicans or Democrats on the field? This isn't a guy who went out to shoot people. There's a guy who went out to shoot Republican people. If you're a Democrat, you ought to have at least the decency, and a Democratic leader, to wait a while before leveling accusations. I do believe if the leadership were more careful, if they were less ad hominem in their arguments, and as I was saying earlier tonight in Special Report, if they were less apocalyptic in speaking about the other side, the other guys win, it's the end of the republic, the end of the world. You know, if climate change is not, you don't listen to me on climate change, you are a denier, like a Holocaust denier. If that language weren't so extreme, we would have the beginning of a de-escalation, and that's what we need.
Charles, I have 1 minute. The shooter in this case, now dead, also has Facebook posts where he was just disgusting in his attacks. I don't even want to repeat them, against President Trump. But you've raised questions before about President Trump, whether he really wants to bring people together or not. Is this an opportunity for him? He gave strong remarks yesterday, the president, about unity at a video here at the game. Is there an opportunity for the president here?
Look, there is, and I think he rose to the occasion in the remarks he made that you showed from the video before. But, you know, he's not blameless. It's not a one-party thing. He was quite aggressive in the campaign. He says he's a fighter, a counterpuncher. He was even aggressive against his Republican colleagues, his Republican opponents. I think this is a time when we can all look back and say neither side here is blameless. Time to do the obvious, to declare a kind of armistice on the vitriol and the apocalyptic rhetoric, and simply say we're a republic, we have a loyal opposition, let's be loyal, let's be civil on both sides. I think it can be done. I don't despair of this. And I think maybe an event like this, perhaps it'll have to be some other event, which would be tragic. But perhaps that can happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the country would appreciate it.
Here, here. You're absolutely right, Charles
let me
Kramer,
just
that
say
neither side is blameless. Go ahead.
Let me just say, I have been watching the game, and there's a hell of a lot of stealing going on down there. I don't want to cast aspersions, but I keep my eye on
Who's stealing, the Democrats or the Republicans? Who's stealing more?
Equal opportunity stealing, and we got catchers who are somewhat superannuated, if I can be kind.
Well, it's been a difficult 24 hours or so here. Maybe we can have a little bit of levity. We appreciate that. Charles Kramer, thanks for joining us. Up ahead, we'll have Tucker's exclusive interview with Fred Warmbier, the father of Otto Warmbier. And we'll continue our live coverage. You can hear the roar of the crowd. Tonight's baseball game. Charles is a big baseball fan. I'm a baseball fan. We'll talk about that, but we'll also talk about the assassination attempt and the real near tragedy there that preceded it. We'll talk to Congressman Jack Bergman. He was an eyewitness to yesterday's shooting. For right now, American citizen Otto Warmbier returned to the U.S. 2 nights ago, but in extremely poor health. In a moment, you're going to see Tucker's exclusive interview with his father. But first, today, a doctor at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center described Warmbier's dire condition.
He shows no signs of understanding language, responding to verbal commands, or awareness of his surroundings. This study showed extensive loss of brain tissue in all regions of the brain.
Now, Tucker sat down yesterday with Fred Warmbier, Otto's father, for an exclusive interview. Take a look.
So, Fred, thanks for having us in your house. Tell us about being reunited with Otto last night.
Okay, last night, being able to see Otto for the first time in, gosh, I bet it's 18 months. It was fantastic. You know, Otto's not in great shape right now, and he's been through a real tough time, and it's great to have him with us, and I'm very proud of him.
Do you know what happened to him in North Korea?
I don't, and so watching his confession and seeing the things that we've seen in North Korea, which none of which was true, and then hearing what I think was they said with Otto. Apparently, the day after he was sentenced, he went into a coma for whatever, you know, for some reason. I don't have any particulars. I would take that. I wouldn't trust that. Listen, Tucker, Otto had been terrorized and brutalized for 18 months by a pariah regime in North Korea.
Yes.
We're thrilled to have him home.
I bet you
He's
are.
with his family. His mom is with him right now, and I'll be with him later on today.
Has the U.S. government helped you along the way during this process?
I hesitate. They have, and I have to really thank Joe Yoon. And so he got involved I don't know when, a month or two ago, contacted us and said he was going to work for us, and his mission was to bring Otto home.
And who is Joe Yoon?
Joe Yoon is an ambassador in the State Department. I believe he took over for Ambassador King, and very helpful to Cindy and I, and we are really thankful for him. And we're also thankful to Rex Tillerson and to President Trump. They wanted Otto home, and I believe, Cindy and I believe, they made this happen. So we're thankful for that.
So you said that once this process is over the next couple of days, you hope to get back to being a family and living a conventional life. What do you think the lessons of this are, your son's captivity in North Korea? Why did this happen?
Being in the wrong place. The lessons of Otto's captivity in North Korea, that's going to be for others to decide. The Warmbiers have been living with this situation for 18 months. There's no meaning here. This is a rogue pariah regime. They're terrorists. They're brutal. There's no sense to anything here. They've crossed a line with my son Otto, and so it would be very difficult to look for a lesson here amongst this insanity. So I'm not looking for a lesson. I want to support Otto.
Yes.
I want to support my other children, my community. I'm proud of the way everybody's handled this, and I'm so grateful that Otto's with us. He's with people who love him now. That means a lot to us.
Of course. How's your family holding up after all this time?
We're doing okay. I worry about Cindy a little bit. I think she worries about me. We're taking it a moment at a time, a day at a time, and we're going to support each other like we agreed to do all this, and we're adjusting right now. We're adjusting to a different reality, and it was one that I didn't know about. We found out about this Tuesday night a week ago of Otto's condition via a phone call from Joe Yoon. And then Cindy and I, we felt shock that we have not felt in a long time. And we're still going through that. But Otto's with us. And that's really the important thing here. He's an amazing kid.
Yes.
And we're fortunate that we live in an amazing community, people that support us and love and care for us.
So you found out on Tuesday just out of the blue?
There were some meetings between, we'll call it the State Department and North Korea, some diplomatic meetings in other countries.
Yes.
And quite honestly, they wanted to know about Otto. And there was nothing forthcoming, and I'm sure it was not going to move forward unless they talked about Otto. So I think that our government forced North Korea's hand and made them admit Otto's situation.
There are other Americans being held in North Korea, apparently, at least 3, maybe more.
Yes.
Do you have advice for their families?
No. No, I would not. I can't recommend any. I don't know what to say. I wouldn't know what to say to them. They can use us as an example, and they can make their own decisions. We tried to do the right thing, and here we are today. So I don't know what the answers are. I've been told not precedented. Otto's situation, yes. Otto's treatment by the North Koreans is unprecedented. So I don't have advice for anybody.
You're a wise man. Thank you, Fred.
You're welcome.
Really good stuff from Tucker there. Earlier at the news conference, I was moved as well when Fred actually showed up at the news conference with a suit jacket that Otto wore back in North Korea when he had to deal with that kangaroo court. Got very emotional when he talked about wearing his son's suit jacket. In the interview, Tucker and Fred then continued the conversation in Otto's childhood bedroom, where it got emotional as well.
So, Fred, this is what you found in Otto's bag when he came back last night?
Yeah, these are Otto's belongings. He had a duffel bag and that in his book bag, and There was a pouch here that some things were in.
He's got his UVA notebook.
Yeah, his passport. This was his calculator. He was going to be doing a finance class there, and has his crazy shirts and ties. Looks like he was packing for a 3-month trip, but
So he was in China and he just took a couple-day jaunt.
yeah, he took a tour with young people, Young Pioneers tour with a group of young people. He was over there with them, and these are the clothes that he took. They were packed up. They were musty when we took them out. Obviously, they've been in the bag for a long time, and this would be typical of Otto, though. He'd have a lot of cool stuff to wear, and you know, some neat shoes. And of course, he had running shoes. He loved to run. He's in excellent shape. Yeah, there's his wallet, and I guess he had some money that he had there, and that's what he was. That's what they sent him home with.
Looks like a straight arrow kid from this.
It's pretty straightforward, you know. This was Otto. Most of this stuff would have been bought at a thrift store. He loved that.
He's got a taste for zany shirts, I know.
He does, and he looked good in them. So.
You going over to see him?
I am, yeah. As soon as we're finished, I'm going to go see him and Cindy, and we're going to hang out, and they're going to read to him and talk to him, and you know, make him feel at home. Let him know that he's around people that love him. That's the most important thing we can do for Otto right now.
Well, God bless you.
Yeah,
thank you for letting us in.
You're very welcome, Tucker, and thank you. You've been a huge support for us and Otto, and we can't thank you enough.
We feel for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Story about a family coming together in America today. There's another family behind me that's coming together, the congressional family, Democrats, Republicans, normally at each other's throats. But we're here live at Nationals Park, Washington, D.C. The Democrats are winning right now, 3-2. You've got Cedric Richmond, Democrat from Louisiana, at plate. You can see him running down. He's pretty fast. It looks like he beat it out, and then maybe digging for second as well. He's also the star pitcher for the Democrats. The Republicans have a lot of trouble hitting him. We're going to get into that later. We'll continue our live coverage of the congressional baseball game after this, and we're going to bring you an update, something much more important than this game, an update on the health of Congressman Scalise. The hospital has just put out a statement, but first, President Trump sending this message to the wounded congressman mere moments ago.
I want to take a moment to send our thoughts, love, and prayers to Congressman Steve Scalise and his entire family. Steve is our friend, he's a patriot, and he's a true fighter.
I don't know if you heard of him, but he was about 90 years old. He couldn't play in the congressional baseball game. It was all House members. But now there's a younger crop, and they got some senators in there, too. Peter?
Sorry, Ed, I missed the back end of your question. I think that it was about the lawmakers who are playing tonight, and they get some of the biggest applause of anybody that's playing. But it's not just, they're not just allowed to play because they are senators. These guys can really, really play. They all have a lot of pop in their bat. You can tell that they, you know, in terms of baseball lingo, they're all hitting their cutoff men. They're following through their, you know, plays at the plate. They're diving. They're laying out at shortstop. So just because you're a senator and you want to play, it doesn't seem like they would just let you on.
Yeah, it's interesting. And right now the Democrats are up 4-2. Both sides, they take a lot of pride in this. It looks like they're even doing, you know, they wear the stirrups, they wear the uniform, whether it's the Yankees or the Mets or it's LSU, like Steve Scalise has worn in recent years. And they even, you know, they get around the mound when there's going to be a pitching change or they need to talk to the pitcher. Are they even spitting the tobacco juice? It's like their heyday. They want their lost youth.
And Ed, while they are all playing the part very well, what is so striking is, you know, we are less than 2 days removed from this horrible tragedy across the Potomac River in Alexandria. And a reminder of that came earlier when Trent Kelly, the third baseman for the Republicans, tagged somebody out, helped get one of the Democrats out who had been in a pickle where the guy was caught between second and third base. Trent Kelly, the congressman, was by all accounts the closest person to the 66-year-old gunman yesterday. So you know, his morning started yesterday. He was so close to someone who wanted to cause so much pain and harm to Republican lawmakers, and then here he is tonight playing and being cheered for by, again, the Democrats who are sitting on the left field side and the Republicans who are sitting on the right field side.
Now, talk a little bit about the charity. A bunch of people on social media have been asking me, our viewers, how they can contribute as well, and you noted at the top of the hour, a lot more money has poured in for these charities. Sadly, perhaps because of what happened yesterday, but on the other hand, it's almost a silver lining that people are coming together and they're giving a lot more money to these charities. But how can people give?
And people can go to the website. There's a Congressional Baseball website, congressionalbaseball.org, I believe it is. I actually just tried to check it out to see if there had been any updates about the fundraising total, but the website seems to have crashed, which, if you want to talk about a lot of people across the country who may be interested in helping out these charities, including this year for the first time, the Capitol Police Memorial Fund, it seems like there may be a lot of people already trying to do that. And it's not just individuals. Corporations stepped up in a big way between yesterday and the start of today's game, donating over $1 million before the game even started. That is twice what they took in last year. And again, it goes to 4 different charities, all benefiting mostly people in the Washington, D.C. area.
Now, Peter, as you're talking, all kinds of excitement is breaking out. I just saw one of the Democrats slide in face first into home. You don't normally see that on Capitol Hill. And the Democrats having a rally here. Peter, they're up 7-2. What is going on? Are you getting any insight? What can the Republicans do here? Is there any secret weapon in the bullpen? They have to do something.
You know, I think that if the Democrats are able to win by sliding into home plate, we might start to see some of that on Capitol Hill. You know, they don't control either House of Congress, but maybe somebody could go sliding in toward like Kevin McCarthy's desk on the floor head first, just to get his attention. At least, I'm not sure. The Capitol is only a couple of blocks away. It's not completely far-fetched. It's kind of a crazy time over there.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joe Donnelly, the senator from Indiana, Democrat, is up to plate now. It's been a lot of excitement early on, not just on the field, Peter, before the game started. Very moving with the first pitch, but also that prayer around second base. As we get in here to the top of the 4th inning in the game, what happened before the game was just downright remarkable.
Right. After being introduced, these lawmakers who obviously do put in a lot of time and effort ahead of this game and practicing and getting ready, they did all gather, Democrats and Republicans, in a prayer circle at second base, which is where the majority whip, Steve Scalise, has played, I believe, in 7 games, but he's one of the stars for the Republican team, and everyone here is thinking of him. When they put his picture up on the Jumbotron, he got a 42-second standing ovation. The Republicans were all standing on the field waving at that photo of Scalise, their second baseman, who, again, he is still 5 miles away, and we did just get an update from the hospital, Ed, a few minutes ago. They do say that he's doing better than last night, but they do still anticipate that he's going to be in the hospital for a while longer. So not a whole lot of details, but that is the update tonight.
Some good news there, some glimmers of hope in that latest statement from the hospital. Peter Ducey, I came in out of the bullpen tonight for Tucker Carlson. You're our utility player covering everything from the ball game. We'll get back to that as we get some updates, but also the serious news. And we're happy to hear that statement from the hospital that Steve Scalise's neck surgery, the latest surgery, has been completed. They're seeing that he's feeling a little bit better, but a long way still to go. Meanwhile, President Trump and the business of the nation goes forward. He lashed out at the media and Hillary Clinton today after new leaks reported he is under investigation for potential obstruction of justice charges. We'll talk the whole thing over with Byron York. Plus, more live coverage, yes, of tonight's congressional baseball game right here at Nats Park. There is a big crowd here, literally about 25,000 here. We're going to give you all the highlights. Tom Rooney, a Republican from Florida, up to bat. We'll tell you what happens when we come back. We're here live at Nationals Park, where the congressional baseball game is underway. Democrats leading 7-2. Trent Kelly, the Republican from Mississippi, up to bat. We'll get back to the game, but the business of the nation goes forward. President Donald Trump tweeting today, lashing out at Hillary Clinton and the media. in the wake of last night's report that Special Counsel Robert Mueller is investigating him for obstruction of justice. The president tweeted, quote, "Why is it that Hillary Clinton's family and Democrats' dealings with Russia are not looked at, but my non-dealings are?" He went on to say Crooked H, as in Hillary, of course, destroyed phones with hammer, bleached emails, and had husband meet with Attorney General days before she was cleared, that tarmac meeting, of course, and they talk about obstruction. That from the president today. Byron York is a columnist for the Washington Examiner. He joins us now live. Byron, does the president have a point, or should he move on?
Both are true, I think. The Team Clinton did do all of those things. They did smash the telephones with a hammer. They did bleach the emails. Bill Clinton did meet with Loretta Lynch, then the Attorney General. So all of that stuff really did happen. And yes, President Trump should move on as well. Those are not cases that are going to be relevant either to the Russia case or to the obstruction of justice case or anything that's going on right now. So it kind of amounts to whataboutism from the president on this.
Now, last night, the president has yet another leak dropped on him by the Washington Post. This one, the one I mentioned about Robert Mueller's allegedly looking at potential, we underline potential, obstruction of justice charges. Now there's a new report breaking tonight from the website Axios saying, well, Robert Mueller, this special counsel, is also investigating the business dealings of Jared Kushner, obviously a top White House aide, but also the son-in-law of the president. What do you make about this drumbeat of leaks that has simply not stopped?
Well, we were told that when Mueller got up and running that these kind of leaks would stop because he would run such a tight ship. Well, maybe he's not really up and running yet, but the leaks haven't stopped. But I think the biggest thing it shows is the indisputable truth about Washington investigations. They do not contract. They do not shrink. They expand. They almost always expand. And so the question here is, what is not under Mueller's purview right now? He can look into a lot of things and seems to be casting a pretty wide net so far.
Yeah, and real quickly, we've got about a minute. I want to be fair to Jared Kushner. His attorney, Jamie Gorelick, has put out a statement tonight saying, in part, we do not know what this report that he just mentioned refers to. It would be standard practice for the special counsel to examine financial records to look for anything related to Russia. Byron, 30 seconds. Isn't that also true with Robert Mueller looking at potential obstruction of justice? Once Comey was fired, that was going to be looked at. It doesn't necessarily mean obstruction was committed.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the theory, the Democratic theory, if you will, is that Trump and Trump Company had some sort of financial interest in all of this. They wanted Comey to stay away from any of their dealings with Russia, and therefore the president obstructed justice in this. So we don't know what Mueller is actually thinking right now, but we do have indications so far that he is going to be looking at a lot of stuff, like financial transactions of people around Trump.
Byron York, we appreciate you joining us tonight. By the way, what we do know is that Teddy Roosevelt just won, as in the racing presidents that are typically here at Nats Park. The caricature representing Teddy Roosevelt won. He typically does not win, so a big night for Teddy. But up next, a big night for Tucker as well. He's going to join us. He sat down with director Oliver Stone last night to talk about his 4-hour documentary on Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's controversial, and that interview is next.